Since the unfortunate recent passing of director Richard Donner, I've been binge-watching one of my favorite film series, Lethal Weapon. The continuing adventures of mismatched partners Martin Riggs and Roger Murtaugh have produced some of the greatest buddy cop action movies of all time.
Yeah, well, get me right up behind this trailer. All right, but you're driving. No, you're driving. Shit, here, there's cruise control. All you gotta do is steer. Riggs, why you always make shit complicated?
But as we all know, a great action movie is nothing without a great action movie villain. So today I'm going to take a brief look back at all the Lethal Weapon villains and rank them in order of who was the best at being the worst. Speaking of the worst, let's talk about General Peter McAllister from the first movie, a corrupt ex-soldier who's turned his old Vietnam Black Ops unit, Shadow Company, into a massive heroin smuggling ring.
Heroin? You got off easy, son of a bitch.
He's played by Mitch Ryan, a great actor who's given great performances in movies like Magnum Force and even the otherwise dogshit Halloween 6. But man, is his General McAllister boring. He does literally nothing the whole movie, just hanging in the background giving orders, and we learn absolutely nothing about him. Ryan doesn't change his facial expression once the entire time, until about 2 seconds before he gets blown up, after which everyone else just moves on like he never even existed. Be honest, you forgot he existed until just right now when I mentioned him, didn't you?
Very disappointing.
When it's all said and done, General Peter McAllister may just be the most forgettable movie villain ever.
Shut your mouth, Jesus! Shut up!
It probably doesn't help that Ryan is completely overshadowed by Gary Busey. He's the one everyone remembers when they think of who the bad guy was in the first Lethal Weapon movie, after all.
Where the hell did you get him? Psychos or us?
As Mr. Joshua, Busey is the General's most brutal enforcer, a sneering ex-Special Forces badass who's able to go toe-to-toe with martial arts expert Riggs.
Come on, Riggs! Bring it there! Come on! Come on!
Unfortunately, I feel Joshua is also sorely underdeveloped. He doesn't get a whole lot of screen time, and when he does, he's usually sharing it with McAllister, when it would have been better to see him build up a proper rivalry with Riggs. As it stands, I find that the final battle between the two has no real stakes because there's no real relationship between them. To Riggs, this guy's really just another drug dealer, and in the greater pantheon of 80s action movie bad guys, I think that's roughly where Mr. Joshua falls too. Up next is Lieutenant Jack Travis from Lethal Weapon 3.
Who? Lieutenant Jack Edward Travis.
The idea to have the villain be a dangerously corrupt ex-cop was an interesting one, but the movie fails to capitalize on it fully.
Did you get what you need?
Not really, it's a dead issue, I'm afraid.
There was a missed opportunity here for Riggs and Murtaugh to take his betrayal of the Force to become a black market arms dealer really personally.
Used to be one of us, for Christ's sakes, Jack.
You know what future a cop has, Murph? None.
But again, they mostly treat him like any other bad guy.
I'm gonna eat your fucking heart!
Also, his grand evil scheme ultimately involves building a housing estate for criminals to live in, like out in the desert.
Move on out to Travis Town. Great place to raise a family.
I mean, that's unspeakably lame.
Fuck you, asshole!
What bolsters Travis above Tweedledee and Tweedle fucking dickhead over here is that he at least has a personality. The dude just looks, sounds, and generally acts like a total fucking weasel, and that's all down to Stuart Wilson's energetic and underrated performance.
Stick around, stick around. This is a good part. We can put our initials in there. Yeah? Jesus Christ.
Lethal Weapon 4 upped the ante and gave us Jet Li as the villain, making his Hollywood debut. He plays Hua Sing-ku, a deadly Chinese triad involved in human trafficking who proves to be the toughest opponent Riggs has ever faced. Hell, Riggs can't even beat him alone and needs Murtaugh's old ass to come back him up in the final fight. 2 is similar to Mr. Joshua in that he does little more than stand around looking menacing most of the time, but he ranks much higher because he gets way more screen time with Riggs and Murtaugh to build up their antagonism, and because of Jet Li's sick fight moves, which will leave you with no doubt that in Lethal Weapon 4, Lee is the lethal weapon of the title. He's also given some actual character motivation, unique for a Lethal Weapon villain, as he's trying to help spring his brother from prison, though admittedly this is revealed rather late in the film.
Hey, who's that guy with the white pajamas? You know who that is?
That's Wasim Koo. Forefather with him is his older brother.
No kidding.
Still, it's better than fucking nothing.
I don't think you're funny.
Finally, that brings us to the best villains of the Lethal Weapon series, which are hands down the South Africans from Lethal Weapon 2. These guys had it all. They were counterfeiters, drug dealers, killers. They threatened Murtaugh's family.
You know, if I was you, I'd be going nuts right now. I'd be going fucking bananas.
They declared war on the police department and murdered Agent Johnson from Die Hard, Ramirez from Aliens, and Hank from Breaking Bad. They shot up Riggs' trailer and drowned poor Patsy Kensit, though she kinda deserved it for giving such a horrible performance.
Officer Riggs.
Yeah.
But above all, they killed Riggs' wife, which was what made him go insane and become suicidal in the first place.
Don't have much luck with women, do you, Riggs?
And all the while they were hiding behind the diplomatic immunity they had as official South African representatives, and using the proceeds from their various criminal dealings to continue propping up their oppressive white supremacist government back home. Throw in the great Joss Ackland playing his role as head honcho Arjun Rudd with obvious relish, and the intimidating Derek O'Connor as his vicious bulldog Peter Vorstedt, and you have a gaggle of truly despicable villains who are simultaneously the series' most heartless and most fun.
Well, you got me quaking in my boots, but I'm still gonna bring you down.
My dear officer, you could not even give me a parking ticket.
So there you have it, my personal ranking of the Lethal Weapon villains. I know I might catch some flack for ranking Gary Busey so low. Don't get me wrong, I love Gary Busey, I just don't really love Mr. Joshua. But if you do, post a comment, let me know. I want to know what your ranking of the Lethal Weapon villains is. Until next time, this is Adam saying, never go up to the drive-thru. You know the rest.